Hi again, this is part two. And by the way, you are here in my office. I don't know if I've shown it to you. I had a friend help me kind of organize this area because once all of my business went online, I no longer needed to have my office set up with a massage table, with a sitting area. I just needed a nice, pretty corner to work in. So this is my corner. This is a dream catcher made by a friend of mine, and then I got a bunch of crystals. Uh, so I wanted to share some of my journey with you, and it'll probably take a couple of videos to do this because there are two things I want to share. One is back to the levels. How I have been looking at my own journey is not so much as an ascension or wokeness or levels. The question that I have been asking myself, how can I be a better person? How can I be kinder, more peaceful? In other words, when interacting with another person, how can I come from a space of love and kindness all the time? How can I avoid being terse with someone or acting annoyed or these, trigger finger reactions? How can I remain in balance in all situations? And the answer is, for me, is I can only do that when I'm happy. And happiness doesn't mean necessarily when I'm balanced or when I'm in a space of love. It's much more simple than that. If I am happy, if I'm in a good space, then I have enough in me to meet the person where they're at without sacrificing where I'm at. Meaning, if I'm in a good space and everything is all right with my world, and somebody comes to me and they're upset and they're yelling and screaming, it's okay. I can choose to do something about it, choose not to do something about it, walk away. But in either situation, I will act with space, I would say, between action and reaction, and I would act in the best ethical, moral, kind way. Now, it doesn't mean, always turn the other cheek when somebody is doing something terrible, but my basic theory is how can I be happier, more balanced, more at peace, so I can be a better person? And for me, a better person is rated, I want to say, as is rated in their interactions with other people, and maybe animals, maybe the planet. But for me, it's the other people that is most important, to treat them and myself with kindness. Now, in terms of treating the earth and the animals with kindness, I think I can do much better than what I am doing. I could use much fewer resources than I'm using. I could give more than I do take less. But everything has its place and its time, and we can't do everything at once. So my personal focus is on being the best I can be in my relationships with other people. And it doesn't mean necessarily, partners, friends. It's any interaction with a person. So that's why I don't really look at levels, because first of all, I think you can do that at every level. There are angels at every level, and there are teachers at every level, and each type of a person will resonate from somebody at their level. So that's why I'm kind of looking at it more globally. where, not where do I want to go, I guess, but who do I want to be? Um, so I'm going to change subject a little bit, but not really. I want to tell you about this person that I met, or rather that I have attended lectures of. How did I end up in those lectures? So my aunt, who is about retirement age, she's a very interesting person, and she has a lot of interesting friends. And when COVID started, she ended up all by herself in their summer home in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and she was lonely. And she formed a group of friends that meet once a week, and they teach each other stuff. Most of their stuff is focused on art. There are the people who are in this group are very interesting people. Again, they probably come from all levels, but they're people who have lived a long life. A lot of them have some sort of a PhD education. They have achieved a lot in their career. Some of them have incredible interest in art. So even though their career may have been in technology, their passion and maybe even their education is in art and in history. So these are people who are much more worldly than I am, much more well-read than I am, probably much more well-thought than I am, simply because of their age. So it's a very interesting group. I kind of invited myself to this group. I asked my dad to let me join. And once in a while, I don't listen to all of their lectures because I don't have a background or that much interest in art. But some of them I do attend. This group is mainly made up of Russian Jewish American immigrants. And most of them, again, have some sort of a higher education. And without getting too deep into their spiritual life and into their heart and into their journey, I could say that they are 2C, maybe. Doesn't matter. There is another member of this group, a Catholic priest from Canada, who speaks Russian. Now, I don't remember if he was born in Russia or he actually learned Russian, but I don't think Russian is, he either came here as a small child or he learned it, but I don't think Russian is his native language, but he speaks it fluently. He is a Catholic priest. He also speaks French and English, but his interest in love and passion is in art. So I don't remember what his degree is, but I can say we can think of him as an art historian. He's an interesting man. Not only is it because he is the only Catholic priest in a group made up of a bunch of Jewish, non-religious people. But what is interesting about him is he's one of the few people I have been in the presence of that has a true heart connection to God. He finds it through the Catholic tradition. He could have found it through any tradition. He could have found it through spirituality. But he is, I wouldn't even say he lives what he preaches. It's just that this love that he has for God is present in everything that he says. You know, we talk about non-judgment, we talk about loving people, but when he speaks, he could be talking about a totally different subject, but his approach is that from love, and not from love, oh, I'm this Catholic priest and I got all this education, I'm gonna love you, imbecile little sheep man. No, it's truly love of each person or each situation, whatever it may be, wherever it may be at. It's very interesting to be in his presence. He doesn't know me because I just attend those meetings. I don't talk at them, but I love hearing him talk. One of the talks he did was about symbolism in Harry Potter. And he spoke very kindly with a lot of reverence about this book. And at the end, there was a Q&A, which was actually much more interesting than the actual lecture. And people have asked him, they said, hey, we kind of expected you to give a totally different lecture because we remember Catholic Church was very much against Harry Potter. But you told us how this book brought families together, how this book has returned children to reading, how this book has gotten across generations and started different conversations. You told us all these amazing and beautiful things about this book. What about the church? And he said, well, the Catholic Church changed its mind towards the book. It supports it now. It didn't support it before. It made a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. It's okay. So the church made a mistake. They realized they make a mistake. They changed it. So I really love saying, not that this great big church is speaking always the truth, the word of God, but saying that we're all human and our leaders make mistakes and it's okay. We can change our mind. And then he said, he did talk about other factions that are against the book, that say, oh, the magic and Harry Potter, that's devil worshipping, that's paganism, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, it may be that. But before making judgment, you have to stop and you have to wait and you have to see what happens. And what happened with the Harry Potter series is that kids started reading, is that generations started talking. And he mentioned a couple of other things, which I didn't remember. I don't remember what he said, but he said, how can that be bad? So let's not look at the book literally. Let's not look at what its stories are, but look to see what it did. So he says things like that really, really resonate with me. And all this, I'm telling you all this, just to get to this point, this other thing that he said that really, really resonated with me. And I realized that's kind of what I've been rambling about in my last letter to you. He says that the way to God, and these are my words, I am paraphrasing him, the way to spirituality, the way to be there is by the way of being a better human being, more humane, more human. If what you're practicing teaches you to be less humane, if it tells you, if it divides people, if it causes us versus them, if it creates pain, if it creates wars, it creates suffering, that's not religion. That's not the right religion. That's dogma. The way to God is through here. So to be connected, to be up there, we mustn't leave our body. We mustn't meditate our life away. We mustn't make ourselves holier than thou. We have to be humble. We have to return into here and do whatever it takes with here to be better on this planet, on Earth. And I think that's what I've been talking about in my last letter. See, I'm again tearing up. And I thought that was really, really beautiful. Maybe I'm projecting on him, I don't know, but being in his presence and listening to him talk really shows me a rarity. A person who is outside of levels, I want to say, because he's not interested in the hierarchy. He's interested in kindness. And when you hear him respond to different people, yeah, I haven't heard him talk about agenda put forth by the Catholic Church. You know, we haven't had religious discussions. But I remember my dad presented last year on Yom Kippur, which is actually today, which is a Jewish Day of Atonement, which is kind of a cool day. Well, it's not a cool day because it's kind of a sad day. You pray all day, you don't eat. I mean, I don't really follow the tradition, but the cool thing about it is one of the things you do is you go to the people, your friends, family, and you ask for their forgiveness. And they have to grant it to you. So, we all screw up. We all do things. But we all deserve forgiveness. So my dad gave a talk on that. There's some things that people can forgive you. There's some things that God can forgive you. So, for example, not praying every day, God can forgive you. Yelling at your friend can forgive you. There are two things, though, that neither God nor a person can forgive you, which is interesting. And that is, one is murder, because you can't undo it. And the other is gossip, because you can't collect all that false information back. So anyway, my dad gave a talk on that, and I don't remember what this guy gave a talk, but also on something like that, and how there was never any sense in anything he said, I'm better than you, or, religious versus religious. All of it came from the heart and kindness, like, yeah, these things are great. And these things are great. This is what helps us be better humans. This is what helps us be better humans. So when I hear him talk about anything, it's from that space, not from the space of positivity, but from the space of kindness and love. And I guess acceptance and a lot of humbleness as well. So anyways, I wanted to share about him because he kind of important to me right now, even though he doesn't know it. And it's kind of cool to have people like that you learn from and they don't really know about you. What I wanted to say, second thing I wanted to say is about the dreams that you talked about. And this all kind of, for me, it's part of the same story. Don't underestimate the healing power of a dream, or of a story, or of a meditation, or of a journey out there. We were given dreams for a reason, to survive. Sometimes life is hard, and some souls are much softer than others. So for them, life here is a little even more harsher. And sometimes they're put in very harsh environments that would break a regular, run-of-the-mill soul. And so we're given tools to cope, to survive, to move forward. And some of these tools are dreams. Some of these tools are stories. Some of these tools are meditations. We can look at them as escapes, and some people do. We call them spiritual bypassing. But sometimes you do what you need to do to survive, to see tomorrow. And sometimes it's a dream. And dreams are a funny thing too. I've had some very vivid dreams this last week after Burning Man, and they were so real. They were just as real, if not more real to me, than the actual event I went to. So I don't remember my dreams exactly, but they all had to do with relationships, with interactions with people. And I got to meet some kind people and have some really lovely conversations, but really I got to experience some amazing emotions in those dreams. Were they real? Did my body go through them? I don't know. Body, brain, brain doesn't know the difference between reality and the dream. Did they change my life in a way? Sure they did. So to me, they're as real, if not more, than what actually happened at Burning Man, because they changed me. They actually did. And they changed me in my awakened state. And by awakened, I mean awakened, talking to you, not sleeping. So again, it's like with any tool, anything. We can use it to avoid. We can use it to escape. We can use it to cope. Or we can use it to hope, to move forward, to be better. So I thought about it a lot, which you have said, for many years. What is true? What is not true? How do I know something is true? How do I know something is not true? For a while, after my mom died and I decided emotions were too much for me, I decided that the only truth is the one I can see, feel, hear, taste. Science, so to speak. That didn't really work, so I had to expand my mind a little bit more, unless I wanted to get sick again. But I still think a lot. What is real? What is not real? The work that I do, the stories that I tell people about themselves, are they real or are they not real? The story I tell somebody, I have a client later today, she wants to do a past life. Am I going to lie to her? Am I going to get a character read on her? And am I going to tell her a story which she will believe because she wants to believe me for the good purposes of helping her? But am I going to have to lie to help her? Or do I actually see, is there such a thing as a past life? Or perhaps we're somewhere in the middle, and what we view as past lives are actually stories about ourselves that the brain has put together, and the only way we can access it is through a third-party story. So I don't know if a past life is real or not. I have no way to tell. I have no way to tell if talking to spirits is real or not. I recently, some friends of mine lost somebody to suicide recently. And they just called me. So I wrote them an email. I wrote from my heart, I'll call it channeled. But I wrote them actually a couple of emails, and it helped them. And one of the things that I saw in the emails is that he's okay. He's okay where he's at. Explain possibly some of the reasons he did it. But the effect of the letter was, from what people tell me, is that it helped them find peace. So the question is, did I lie to people? Did I make up a story to help them find peace? And the answer is it doesn't matter, because my intention was not to tell them a story. My intention was to help. If helping yourself or helping somebody through a story, through symbolism, through archetypes, if that is useful, if that is helpful, how can that be bad? And how can that be not real? You know, we sit and we think about all these things in our heads, at least I do. I have many conversations, many thoughts in my head at the same time. And sometimes I'll get up off the chair and I'll be dead tired, because I just went through a bunch of journeys in my head without getting up off the chair. Are they true? Are they not true? To me, if they change something in my awakened, in my physical state, if they change something in my interaction with the 3D world, especially if they change me for the better, then it's real. And by the way, thanks for sharing the polyvagal theory with me a few months back. It's a very interesting theory, and it actually helped me quite a bit, so thank you for that. But, you know, I forget the guy who wrote it, but I have been following him, and there are several authors, Peter Levine, who talks about psychosomatic stuff, how the body remembers our experiences, and there's another one that I shared with you that I really resonate with. His name is Gabor Mate, and they're actually doing a bunch of trainings and a bunch of series, and some of them are free, on trauma and how we keep trauma in our bodies and how we handle our trauma. And when I hear them, and by the way, part of that group is also the guy who invented holotropic breathing. I think it's Stefan Graf. I think that's his name is Grof. they're all, I want to say, Western trained doctors or psychiatrists. But what is underneath them is a lot of mysticism. Underneath kind of the foundation of their method, of their language, of how they help people, is exactly what we see in shamanism, we see in mysticism. And so they're kind of combining Western, classical, Eastern, non-traditional approaches. And I really resonate with them as well. And again, and this is my kind of what I see them telling me. Again, this is just my interpretation, used by my brain to support my own theories, is that doesn't matter what's real, what isn't real. What matters is what you do with it. What matters is how it impacts your life. So trauma, they say, is not what happened to you. It's what keeps happening to you. It's your relationship to what is happening to you. It is the story, or the series of stories that got put together in your head. You can say the different brain connections that were made in your head based on that trauma that you keep playing on a loop, repeating. So again, I don't know. I think about this a lot, and I don't have an answer. What's real, what's not? Am I lying to people? Am I lying to myself? Am I don't know, a person who can see things that other people can't? I don't know, but I think as long as the end result is just like what that Catholic priest said about the Harry Potter book, as long as the end result is a better world, even if it is a better micro world, a better world in my house or a better world in somebody's house, as long as that happens, then it doesn't matter. What matters is what we do with it. So I'd love to hear what you think about it. I'm not counter, I can't remember the word, but I'm not against what you said. I'm not saying your journey about what's real and your evaluation about what's real is right or not right. No, not at all. What you said made me think, and these are simply my thoughts today. Who knows, maybe in 10 years they will be different. But that's what I have been thinking about dreams and storytelling for many years, even before I discovered that I could tell stories, even before my spiritual journey. I've always loved books, and I've always loved fiction books because they told stories about people that I would never meet, but people who could teach me so much. But those books were fiction, yet some of them changed my life. So that's quite interesting. All right, so I'm gonna end my rambling right here. Hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. And while I'm on a roll, I'm gonna share not just my thoughts, but what I'm going through right now, which I haven't really shared with many people. So I'll do it in another video. So stay tuned.